Hello, and welcome to the Front Seat Life podcast. I am your host, Jessica Butts, where I am here to help you be unapologetically who you are in your life, love, and business by understanding and embracing your innate personality type. Most of you know I am all about not doing stuff that you suck at, absolutely leaning into your front seat, and that is what we're going to be talking about in this podcast. For those of you who don't know me, I am the CEO and creator of Front Seat Life. I am a Myers-Briggs expert. I'm a life and business coach for intuitive women, author, keynote speaker, obviously podcaster, and former couples therapist and psychotherapist. I'm an ENFJ, truth teller, F-bomb dropper, lover of all things Maui, and fiercely dedicated to helping you be unapologetically who you are. I am so excited to take you on this new series called Front Seat 16. And that means we are going to do a deep dive into all 16 Myers-Briggs types, as well as the front seat methodology behind every single one of the types. So it'll be a 16-week series. I have guests every single week coming on, talking to you about some of their front seatness, some of their back seat BS. That is what they're terrible at, and everything in between. Okay, buckle up. Let's do this. All right, everybody, welcome. We've got Courtney Anderson as my official ENTJ. It was a very simple choice for me. When I was starting all of the Front Seat 16, it was very obvious to me that Courtney would be my ENTJ. And Courtney is a former client. I would consider her a friend now. She's super wicked smart, super wicked sassy, says what's on her mind. I think we're probably sisters from another mother, super similar. And she has been an amazing student. She's now a coach herself. She's got a thriving business, and just an all around kind of kick-ass human being. So Courtney, welcome.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I am thrilled to be here. I actually had this on my vision board to do a podcast with you.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, since September of 2019.
Holy shit.
And it was at one of your in-person events. And I remember saying to you, I had probably 1 to 2 glasses of champagne at that time, but I remember saying to you, I'm going to be on your podcast. And you were like, what? Because there were so many people around. And I said, yeah, I'm going to be on your podcast. So don't worry about it. We'll figure it out. And here we are.
And so here we are. And how beautiful is it going to be that, I've got chills actually, that this is going to air in September. So this will be one of the first episodes that goes on. So 2 years later. So this is this is not really what we're talking about today, but I believe heavily in manifestation. Mm-hmm. I actually just this morning went back, and it's my stepmom's birthday today, and she just passed away in June. And so got a little just feelings about that, and just had a very reflective morning this morning, which is August 25th for anybody who's listening to the recording now, and just had a moment this morning of looking back at my journals and realizing a lot of stuff that I was manifesting is coming true right now. So I believe solely in that. So congratulations on manifesting being on the podcast.
Thank you. And thanks for the opportunity. I was thrilled, of course. Any chance to talk about my personality type that I am crazy passionate about is a treat.
Good. Okay. So you're an easy interview for me because you know your type so well. You're an A+ student. You are just super kick-ass. You are the executive, total ENTJ. I already did the intro of that, what all of that means. But let's just start with an umbrella, a picture of Courtney, for you, understanding type like you do, what has it been like being an ENTJ in this world? Specifically, again, the rare forms of you, which is, of course, the N, and then being a thinking woman makes you extremely rare. So open-ended question.
Yeah, that's such a great question. And I think about it a lot. especially since I met you and I solidified the understanding of, oh my God, that's what this is. That's who I am. So being an ENTJ woman means that I am crazy driven. I'm very logical. I don't mess around with feelings, whether my feelings or someone else's, right? I've historically and kind of now I have a lower tolerance for it. It's just not, I just have a lower tolerance for it. So being an ENTJ woman is a very misunderstood by a lot of people. So the perception is that I'm kind of a bitch, especially by other women. Yep. I've always known that men think I'm a lot. So they're not prepared for me. I get a lot of, whoa, geez, or hey, geez, take it easy. And I'm very much I call it like I see it. I say the things. I just get things done. I don't really think about, do I really want to do this? I don't know. It's like I see an end goal and here are the steps to get there. So let's just do it. I'm kind of, this term is kind of tongue in cheek, but I'm kind of a ball buster. I just do the things. And people love that about me, but there's a lot of people that it really scares and intimidates them, men and women alike. Okay. So being a child, I was thinking about this when you and I set up this interview, being a child and then growing into an adult woman as an ENTJ. Wow, that has been a crazy, crazy journey. Mm-hmm. And so
I think more about that real quickly. Okay. Yeah.
So my very first memory of being different, which would be more of the thinking woman, is second grade.
Wow.
And girls on the playground. I remember the girl's name. She asked me if I would play with her. And I said, no, I just didn't want to. And that was the end of it for me. I didn't no, I don't want to. Okay. That ended up with every second grade girl in the principal's office in a circle, holding hands, looking at a picture of Jesus. And the principal saying to us, Jesus would never tell people he wouldn't play with them. Oh, so the shame started in second grade.
Whoa.
And before I really met you and understood the T part of me, I really carried that with me. Like, what is wrong with me? And I've had other women throughout my life tell me, why aren't you still friends with so-and-so from high school? Why don't you hang out with so-and-so anymore? And I would think to myself, well, God, I just don't want to. But I always felt like I had to kind of explain myself and I didn't really know how to articulate it. But I've noticed with women, again, that thinking part of me, I can detach really quickly and move on. Mm-hmm. And again, I just thought it was because I was like a bitch or there was something wrong with me. Mm-hmm. So that's been really, really interesting. There's a lot of examples growing up, being a thinking woman where I felt a lot of shame. Mm-hmm. I would say the things, I would end up in the principal's office. I would give logic where it wasn't asked for.
Can I ask how were you raised by a mother and a father?
I was raised by a single mom.
Okay. How did your mom handle that? So she's getting called in, I'm assuming. So I'm curious if the shame continued at home or if she understood that.
That's a great question. And I've talked to my mom about this recently. My mom never judged me.
Awesome.
Never. She was partially because she was a single mom. She didn't have the time for it. She had a brain injury too. So I was the mom at home. Mm. And so I would get pulled into the principal's office. I remember this. And they would say, you can't talk to your teachers like that. You can't speak out like that. This is the assignment. You have to do what's expected of you. And and they would say, you're going to be in detention now. I would get detention quite often. Mm. And I remember them saying, if you're going to call my mom, that's fine, but she's not going to really care. Like if you think that I'm going to be disciplined at home, I'm not. She's going to pick me up. We're going to go out to lunch and it's going to be fine. It's going to be great. So my mom never judged me. And I look back on that and think, God, I was a lot of work for her in that regard, in the kind of the discipline section. I always feel like I lived one life at school where there were so many rules and so many things that were so hard for me. And then I would go home and I could just be who I was.
Wow.
And that
I'm
was
so glad.
fantastic.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. And I went to private schools growing up until 10th grade. And there's a lot more rules.
Yeah.
And I thought they were all just really stupid. Again, thinking woman, logic or not, like, I'm like,
also very the N in us is,
yeah.
So the only place that I volunteer my time is a alternative school here in Kirkland, and with Maureen O'Shaughnessy, who I am obsessed with. But that's a big, big thing for us intuitives as kids, because we don't know any better back then. But then as we get as adults, you and I now know, like, we are totally unemployable. Don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me when to be somewhere or what to wear or what to say or whatever. But back as a kid, growing up in schools, or even, starting out young in corporate America, there are so many rules. And so, yeah, that thinking and the N. So those are two very rare parts of your type. So only 25% of the population are N's, and then only 25% of women are thinkers. So for you, again, growing up in the Muggle world, as I call it, as you know, is those two things are, Courtney, you are wrong. This is unacceptable. You have to sit. You need to listen. You need to sit still. There's no creativity. Read this book. We're going to test you. Like, we don't fit in. You in particular as an NT woman.
Exactly. And I knew that my entire life.
That's so interesting that you knew that so early on.
Yeah.
So you had a literal recognition of it in that second grade scenario of like, okay, I am not like all these other little girls on the playground.
Yeah. And I would think to myself, oh my God, what is happening right now? And the thinker in me, right? We're sitting in the principal's office, holding hands, looking up at Jesus, and our principal's quoting a Bible verse. And I'm saying to myself, this is so stupid. This is so stupid. And at no point did I think, oh my gosh, he is right. I just kept thinking, are we done here? Get me out of here. I'm 8 years old. Get me out of here. This is so dumb.
Yeah. So powerful.
I have zero tolerance for things that I call them. I say if something is dumb or stupid, I've no tolerance for it. Those are just the terms that I use. If I don't buy into something, it's dumb or stupid, I'm out. Peace out. We're done here. Can I go?
Yes. So there's a million places I want to go right now, but I think let me back up. And then of course I want to go to how this has affected your adult life. So you're married, you have to live in a world that is not necessarily designed for us. But before we go there, just really quickly, I want to go back for a second to the parentified child that you were talking about. So your mom with a brain injury and having to be that parentified child, that is very in alignment with also your ENTJ of just, I'm going to take charge. Mom, let me do the thing. So I think that's a very interesting nature and nurture. So in both areas of your life, the two that really matter, the nature and nurture, you have been taught to be a boss.
Yeah.
Literally be the boss. So I'm just curious if you have any additional thoughts on that.
That's such a great point and I actually think that I had sent you some messages on Facebook a few years ago because it kind of hit me because I always thought, well, I know at home I have to take charge. Somebody's got to get things done. Somebody's got to get organized. Somebody's got to take mom to her appointments. I mean, I had to stay home from school for 1.5 years because there was no one to take me there. I was literally at home. So I always thought to myself, I would have this battle internally and think, am I just this intense because I have to be because nobody else is?
Wow.
And it really, like a ton of bricks hit me when I met you and dug really deep into this. And I thought, oh my God, it's both. That I came out of my mom's womb, I say, ready to get shit done.
Yep.
And then I was in an environment where somebody needed to take charge. So 11-year-old me said, get the fuck out of my way. This is crazy. I remember saying, I've been candid with you about this, but I remember saying to myself, this is not good. I grew up in a dangerous environment. And I remember saying, if the adults here are not going to call the police, I have to do it. Somebody has to do something. And so again, when I reflect back on that, that was the nature and nurture. Mm-hmm. And it was a survival skill.
Yeah.
So as an adult, as I've gotten older and older, it's a daily, right? And working with a therapist to sort out the two. What isn't mine to own, right? What do I need to let go of? And then what is the innate part of me that zone of genius, right? Zone of excellence that I can really take on here.
Yeah. Thank you, first of all, for your vulnerability. Thank you for being so transparent. And by the way, I did ask ahead of time all of my guests during this. It was literally a prerequisite to make sure that people were comfortable talking about this because I don't want to push anybody where they're not comfortable. So thank you. But this is a great awareness on your part about this is a learned behavior. Again, this is the nature versus the nurture. I actually got chills and got a little choked up when you talked about, do I have to do this? And in a sense, you did. You know, this is a survival mechanism. So where I want to go from here, because that is huge awareness. I know there's people listening right now that are having total ahas. They are where you were. I'm about to cry, like where you were 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago of realizing this about themselves. And this is exactly why I wanted to do this series, is so that people can hear themselves in other people instead of me barking at people all the time. And I would love for you to talk about how all of this nature and nurture has affected you as an adult woman. And she just leaned back. We're on Zoom and I choose yes. Can you share some of the insights, some of how, as I'm going into healing the hustle kind of content and knowing how you've had to balance these things in your life so that you can survive?
Well, you and I have a lot in common in terms of our background. I have a husband. I was married for 14 years and I was the boss in that relationship. My codependency style is to persecute, jump over on other people, tell them what to do, shake them, right? Tell them what is going on. No, here, get this done.
Manage and control.
And I also, just like you did, I married the wrong person. Mm-hmm. However, in that relationship, like I said, I was the boss. So that relationship ended very suddenly, very traumatically. It was horrible. Mm-hmm. But what I've learned through the end of my marriage and going through therapy is that what someone else does or doesn't do is really none of my business. And I can't control. And God, that's so hard because I grew up as a thinker, also in an environment where I had to control. So it's really been like letting go of the reins of other people and starting to mind my own business.
How have you done that? Because this is such a fun thing for me to be able to interview people because I can then, when I'm not talking at people on the podcast, I can put myself in the position of what are people thinking, and I can just see people in their car screaming right now or at the gym or wherever they're listening and going, how the fuck do you do that? So tell us how you've learned how to release control over things that you don't have control over, which are other people.
Oh my God, the hardest lesson I've ever learned in my entire life was my marriage ending, and I had zero control over that. So it was literally forced, right? Meaning I have what I call, and you talk about these moments too. I had my living room floor moment where I knew I'll never forget it. And I fell to the floor and I screamed and I started pounding my legs because I knew what was going on in my marriage. I confirmed it and I knew it was over. And I've never felt out of control in my life. And so it was a forced slam to the floor. Your life is over as you know it. And now what are you going to do?
Mhm.
So I had the choice to keep doing what I was doing, to try and control and manage other people, to get in other people's business, or to really surrender, get a therapist, do the work, rebuild my life, and figure out what I really wanted. Because the other part of this, Jessica, which you talk about a lot, is that I was in a career. I'm a clinical social worker. That's my background.
Mhm.
So like you,
Mhm.
mental health. And I burned that down too. Literally, I burned down my entire life and started over. And again, most of this was forced. I always say that I don't know if I would have left my marriage on my own
Yep. Yep.
because I
Isn't that
didn't want to be another.
fascinating?
I
Yep.
didn't want to be another statistic.
Yep.
But I always dreamed about leaving my marriage.
Yeah. Wow.
So I had to rebuild my entire life and get really damn humble because it wasn't working for me.
Mhm.
Controlling, managing other people, getting in other people's business, trying to fix my husband at the time, trying to get him to want things that I wanted for him, trying to do all that, raising 2 kids together. And when you are divorced, you no longer get a say.
Hmm. Mm.
You don't get a say in that other person. And so we have kids together too. So that was a whole nother thing, right? I had to, it was the hardest experience of my life to surrender control of my kids, to surrender this person who now could do whatever he wanted with whoever he wanted. But it was the greatest thing for me because I got to figure out what I really wanted.
Yeah.
Like
Do
I had
you-
secretly been wanting that for so long, Jessica. I thought about it. I used to cry. I used to call my mom and say, Mom, I can't do this. Oh my God. I don't want to be married to this person. But I didn't have the strength to leave. And so
Wow.
then
Do you not
when it
believe that the
ended,
universe made that happen then?
yeah, because
So you subconsciously wanted that thing, but sometimes we don't have the strength to do it. And so the universe, God, whatever you believe in, takes care of it for us. And then we have to, and I'm curious if you're at a place now where you see all of that as a gift.
I absolutely see it as a gift. And I say this to my clients too. If you don't change the thing that you say you want to change, if you don't change it on your own terms, the universe, God will eventually change it for you. And it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah. That is so true. That is so true. Like this is interesting because we're going down a different path, but I think this is really great content for everybody, is that you've used this word a lot of choice, so that you didn't have a choice and it happened to you, but then you got to a place of like, okay, now I have a choice. So it happened unwillingly, but then I had a choice that I'm going to stay in victimhood. Right? I'm not going to learn from my lessons. I'm going to stay in victim. I'm going to stay in persecutor. I'm going to stay the same role that I was in, or I'm going to look at this as an opportunity. Because I actually think almost everybody at some choice point in their life has a redo button. And we get to either lean into it and look at it as, yep, that sucked. That was really fucking hard. And it now gets to be an opportunity for a new start, a new choice, a new growth. And I know the life that you're in now, and you haven't shared that with the listeners yet, but you wouldn't be where you are if that thing hadn't happened to you. You would still probably be in that muggle world, fighting in that bad relationship, 1 foot out, whatever was going on with you, drinking too much, eating too much, whatever the thing is. So yeah. Do you agree with that? I guess.
I 100% agree with that. I look at my life now and I'm like, what in the hell is going on? Like, and people used to tell me back then, I can't believe you're married to so-and-so. I can't believe, like, you guys are not compatible. You're not. And I'd be like, yeah, well, but I knew it. I knew they were saying the truth. And not only the marriage, but the job, the career, the 9 to 5.
You had one? Oh yeah. You're clinical. Yes.
Yes. I had a 9 to 5. And so when I look at my life now, owning my own business, doing whatever the hell I want to do, remarried. Oh my God. So different. Basically kicking ass, doing what I want, whenever I want, which is the most important thing in the world to me, because my number 1 core value is freedom.
Yes, ma'am.
I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah. I am so unbelievably excited. I feel like I need a drum roll, please. To announce that in conjunction with this podcast series, The Front Seat 16, I am opening up the brand new Front Seat Life Collective. It is 10 years of my work as a psychotherapist, as a Myers-Briggs expert, as a business coach and life coach, 5 different courses, 2.5 books, all in one all-inclusive membership group. I'm getting off of Facebook. I am healing my hustle, practicing what I preach. I have moved over to the unbelievably fabulous platform called Mighty Networks. We are still doing live calls. This is a safe and exclusive and incredible community for all my weirdos out there. So all my intuitives, it is time for us to come together, to gather, to learn about each other, to be inspired, to be motivated, and to be educated on this incredible part of your personality type. And that is just the tip of the iceberg. We will have spotlight speakers, guest speakers, and so much more. It will be open only for a period of time, so do not wait. It is an incredibly affordable price. You also get an opportunity to schedule one-on-one sessions with me, also at a discounted price, and I cannot wait. I literally can't wait to welcome you in to this new and exclusive and wonderfully private and incredibly inspiring community, the Front Seat Life Collective. To find out more, just go over to jessicabutts.com and I will see you on the inside. So what you're describing is just kind of bringing this back to type a little bit. And I want to be really clear that all of this is about no judgment, but I'm also doing this so that people can hear that people are different. And as an NT woman, specifically for you, what you were living is what I used to call an incongruent life. Everything in my life, and now hearing your story, felt incongruent, right? Why I'm in this 9-to-5 job. It's like everything in my body was like, I am not supposed to be here. I do not belong to these people. I felt like an alien. What is wrong with me? And then in my marriage, just always, I was just like you. I was 1 foot out the door. It had to be exhausting for him. Like that is a part that I feel really bad for him, is your wife is continuously like wanting to leave. Like what a terrible freaking feeling for him. But that feeling of incongruence does not happen to every type. SJs are so much more okay with the muggle world life, the 9-to-5, the routine, and there's nothing wrong with that. That is just who they are. But when you and I and all the people listening right now are feeling like, holy shit, this is how I feel, I'm still in that incongruent place, it takes either some courage. I think it takes both. I mean, I agree, like my life blew up as well, but then it also takes some courage to say, okay, well, fuck it. I mean, if this is what the universe has in store for me, let's just see how I can or need to make my life congruent now with who I am. Like one of my BHAGs is to get people, to understand this before they were like you and I. Like, how old were you when all this shit went down?
35.
Okay. Yep. Me too. So I was like 36, 37, all that shit went down. And so sometimes that just takes life experience. Sometimes it takes the knowledge of that, but there's also, people that are in their 20s that can learn this ahead of time. But the overwhelming feeling is, if your life feels incongruent, that's okay. And the universe is trying to tell you something.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And when we talk about courage, change, this is such an ENTJ thing, because when my marriage fell apart and I started rebuilding, and I wanted more than anything in the entire world to get out of my 9-to-5 job, to get home with my kids, because my boys were 1 and 3 at the time. I remember saying, I just need to replace my income so I can get home. Now I'm a clinical social worker. My income was never much, but, so
Sadly, yes.
yeah, let's be clear about that. So I started in direct sales because that's everywhere. And I had a friend who introduced me to it. And so I did that. And then the other thing I did to close the gap, instead of, right, what a lot of people would do is they would just take on more hours at work.
Sure.
But instead of doing that, I'm like, I'd rather gouge my eyes out than do that. So I'm going to do this direct sales thing. And then the other thing I did to close the gap is I started dumpster diving.
Oh, for real?
I started dumpster diving to find things to sell, to resell.
Oh my God, this is brilliant.
And the other thing I did was I went to the food pantry once a month. And then I also went dumpster diving behind grocery stores.
Wow. Wow.
And that's how I closed the gap. I would rather dumpster dive at night in my minivan than work more hours at my 9 to 5 because that was slowly killing me. So that's how I got.
Statement is that?
Yeah. And I saw it. That's totally logical to me. Why wouldn't you do that? Right? Why wouldn't I do that? Because I would rather sell my soul to the devil than go work more of the 9 to 5.
So let's talk about this for a second. So by the way, that is an absolutely amazing story, what is also interesting about that is that there are so many alternative ways to make money or to make ends meet. So you weren't necessarily making money, but you were providing your family food that they needed to survive instead of just going and getting a 9 to 5. So part of the world that we live in, especially in America with capitalism ruling our world, is that money is everything. And there's only one way to do that, typically, which is to have a 9 to 5 job. And there are so many alternative ways to do that. So I'm currently taking a course in investing. I, at 48 years old, am literally obsessed with building my portfolio. It's like I'm obsessed with it. So I'm taking this new course on like swing trading, which is fascinating to me. Stay tuned. I might have her on as a guest on the podcast. But what you're talking about, right, is thinking outside of the box, not, oh, I need to go get another job or work more hours. But it's like, how can I literally go dumpster diving?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is what you would rather do, which is also brilliant because it allowed you time to be with your family.
Yeah. And then I could save money at the grocery store. So I just saw it as like a means to, okay, so I'm finding all this produce. It's brand new. It's never been touched. This is great. I'm going to go home and I'm going to juice all this. So here's our apple juice. Then we don't have to go to the store. Like
Wow.
And that is the end, right?
Yes.
I mean, you know that, Jessica.
Yes.
That's the end where my entire life, my entire career, I think this is really important to talk about because you talk about this a lot. My entire career, have a bachelor's degree, got a master's degree in clinical social work. And I saw everybody leave, like graduate school and do their 9 to 5s. And I was like, oh my God, that is terrifying. Mm-hmm. So my first job out of school, I worked 3/12s in the emergency room. Oof. And do you know how many people said to me, oh my God, you're taking the ER shift? Ugh, that's awful, 12-hour shifts. And I'm like, hell yeah, I am. I'm going to work 3 days and get the hell out of here. Mm-hmm. I am not selling my soul to this place for 5 days a week. Yeah. You have got to be kidding me. And then that wasn't enough, right? So I started thinking, I would obsess. I would spend my time at work when I'm sure everyone else was giving a shit. I would sit in my office, think, okay, how can I do this? Yeah. And I would spend so much time trying to create a job that either didn't exist already, right? But that was less hours. And I would propose that to a boss. And then I would go home and tell my husband, and he would be like, what's wrong with you? And I'm like, oh shit, I don't know. Maybe there is something wrong with me. And so
because that's what the muggle world tells you. Yeah. Just go get a fucking job. That's what you're supposed to do. But you're right. That intuitive in you is like, what else can I do? There's gotta be a different way. And look, your whole life, you found a different way. Yeah.
And then I remember I would say, okay, I'm going to go down to 2 12s and then I'm going to start bartending. Because of course that's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I got to get out of here. I got to have freedom.
Yeah.
And everyone was just like, you just got to have a master's degree in clinical social work. You're going to bartend. And I'm like, yeah, I don't give a shit. Like, I'm like, maybe I'll strip too. I don't know. Like, I don't care. I don't care.
This is I'm so impressed. I haven't known these things about you the last 3 years or so since I've known you, the dumpster diving and all of this. And I have to say that this is also just not, I think part of your type is not giving a shit what people think.
Yes.
Because this is super, super, American unacceptable. And you're just saying like, I don't care. You are so desperate to have freedom as your number one core value, which almost every intuitive type, I would say, I don't know statistics, but 95% of Ns, one of your core values is likely freedom. And so you are talking about some extreme ways, swallowing your pride, doing things that are very unorthodox in order to live the life that you are designed to live, which is having freedom. And that is really fucking powerful, Courtney, that you are willing to do I want to get really clear about this. You are willing to do unorthodox things to have an unorthodox life.
100%. And let me add this. I'm a mom. I live in the suburbs. So if you want to talk about people judging you and having opinions about you should not do that, that's heavy. And it makes me crazy when I see so many people doing everything that they feel like other people that they should be doing. But I know that's the T in me. I know that's the NT in me that without question allows me to just get shit done that needs to be done. And people tell me, I love being around you because your energy. You just do things. I wish I could do that. And it's fascinating to sort out what's the innate part of me. And then some of this that I've just learned out of like, I don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah.
I've been to hell and back. Try me.
Yeah. How old are you now, Courtney?
42.
Have you learned how to be yet in your life? So most of my listeners know I have one tattoo, and it's the word be on my forearm for me, right? It faces me. It's my tattoo for me because at about 45 is when I got it. I realized that I was ruining my life. I was so fucking driven. I got divorced. I went straight into my private practice, went straight into coaching, wrote the books, did all the godforsaken things, was ruining every relationship that I got into because I was such a ball busting bitch and super controlling. And it was really great for my career and really horrible for my life. And I am not a T, but you and I very much share that super strong go-getter, ambitious type A personality type. And it continues to be a struggle for me. And it will be something I work on until the day I die. But I'm curious for the listeners, if this is something you've been able to adopt in your family because your nature and nurture are both so strong in this. Is this something that you feel like you struggle with? And have you been able to find any balance with that?
I absolutely struggle with just being. It's interesting because my husband now is an ISTJ.
Oof, wow, that's so difficult. A lot of logic going on in that family.
There is, and one of my sons is a T.
Oh.
And my ISTJ husband can be very easily when I meet, like he's very in the moment. He can just relax and chill. And I find it fascinating. Fascinating. So he'll say to me, to your point, Jessica, he'll say to me, why don't you just sit down and relax? And I go, are you kidding me? And then I just rattle off all these things that I have to do. However, I would say in the last year and a half to 2 years, I have really leaned into this. I have learned that as an ENTJ woman, my just being and just chilling is never going to be a full day. It's never going to be 2 full days.
Mm.
It may be 30 minutes.
Mm.
I don't need like a full, week, but it's a constant every day. I think what needs to be done. And then what am I doing with that? I feel like I should be doing that I can let go of.
That's great. That's great. That's really great for the listeners. I think what you just said is a very tangible tool. Is like, what do I need to get done? And then what is my personality type that's forcing me to do things, even though I don't necessarily need to be doing them. Yeah, that's good.
And I've learned I think I learned this from you, Jessica, that my husband now, he's an ISTJ. There's tons of logic going on in our house, but he's really emotionally mature and we're pretty autonomous. It's a pretty fantastic relationship. But one of the things I learned from you that I do check in with him a lot because I need to externally think and process. Mm-hmm. I say to him, okay, Vlad, I want to talk to you. I need to process something with you. I say, I'm creating a story that I need to be constantly flitting around this house and constantly cleaning and wiping things down and busy. I say, and the story is that if I don't do that, you're going to judge me and wonder why I'm not doing something.
I can't wait to hear his response.
Every single time I say this to him, he goes, no, I don't think that at all. And he goes, and I'm not trying to be mean, but I actually don't think about you all day and wonder what you're doing. I'm just in my own head, living my own life. I say, okay, thank you.
Love it. Yeah. So the tool that Courtney is talking about is the ladder of inference, something I learned in graduate school. It is literally like the best damn tool. I mean, there's a bunch of great tools, but it's on the top 5 list of mine of the ladder of inferences. I am making up a story, which we all do, and I need to check it out with you. Like, let me come off of my ladder. I'm inferring, I'm making up stories. I'm doing all the things. Let me come down to the bottom and check this out with you, because 95% of the time it has nothing to do with us. Like, we are creating this huge story based on our past, our history, you growing up as a parentified child, you growing up as an ENTJ, you growing up as my survival skills are, I have to be busy. If you stop being busy, you might not survive. You literally might not survive. And so I know you know that through working with me for a while and your therapist, but these are really like ingrained in us very, very strongly. So this will be something, my guess, as you continue to work through. The gift of menopause I definitely change you. So in however many years that is for you, we'll have to revisit this, because it has been fascinating to me to see how menopause has slowed me down. Yeah, it's just fascinating.
And I would agree with that. Even, I wonder if I'm going through maybe perimenopause or something's changing, because I am pulling back. I don't want to collaborate with people. I'm doing my own thing. I've got a system. I've got it figured out. I'm done with doing what other people are doing. So that's been neat. I don't feel like I have to read every single business book that comes out. I just read a book because I fucking want to.
Love it.
And that's been great too.
Okay. So we're about at time, but I really do want to end with I feel like a really important question for all ENTJ women specifically is another kind of open-ended question for you is, how have you cultivated relationships in your life with business, your lover, your husband, your friends, in a way that you get to be unapologetically who you are as an ENTJ and still be who you are? So how have you been able to cultivate relationships with a very rare personality type?
As I've gotten older, I have learned to judge myself way less because I know my type and because I know there's nothing wrong with me innately. So I trust myself so much more in terms of what kind of relationships I want in my life, how many I want in my life, the relationships I have with my children,
Mhm.
I really, really know that I'm operating from a place of being an ENTJ and letting go of the shoulding. So I know that it's not going to make me happy to have a shit ton of girlfriends and feel like I got to ask them about their feelings and all that. Like, that's not, I don't want that. I'm not an empath. So I guess what I would say is knowing who my personality type, forgiving myself, releasing the shame, and really trusting my gut,
Love it.
trusting my intuition, and trusting my core values, which a lot of that stuff I learned from you. If it does not align with me, it can go.
Yeah.
And then that's okay.
Yeah. And what I'm hearing is that it's so much of how you, Courtney, understand who you are, and then you design your life. And so most people don't do this. They let their life design their life. So they let the outside world design their life, what neighborhood they live in, right? A PTA, I'm a mom, whether I live in the suburbs, whatever, and then saying, oh my God, none of this fits me. Like this does not work for me. So I'm going to figure out who I am. And then I'm going to dictate what comes in and out of my life based on core values, personality type, what I want and need into my life. And that is a really unapologetic way to live your life. It's not easy, but it sounds, I mean, this is my desire for people is to be able to live an unorthodox life if that's what they choose to do.
And as long as I stay grounded in that, because it's certainly not without second guessing myself. It's certainly not without people saying to me, what's wrong with you still? Or saying, God, you should do this. You should be doing that. You'd be great at that. It was not without second guessing myself, but it's getting quiet, slowing down. And it's also understanding who's really important to me. I mean, you do the rocks exercise, and that's incredible for me. It's my kids, it's my husband, it's my mom, my sister, it's my business. That's kind of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think what's so fascinating about where we're ending this is that I think, well, and I know this because I see this with so many clients and just so many people in general, is that we fill it with Facebook. We fill it with this comparison. We fill it with the shoulds, I should go to this party. I should go to this birthday party. I should go to this thing. This is what I'm supposed to do. And when you just start saying, no, that does not serve me, shit can really, really, really shift. But it takes some ovaries, some strong.
It takes some ovaries. It takes dipping your toes in, and then getting a quick win. I tell that to my clients a lot. Let's get you a quick win.
Love that.
So
say more about that before we close up. What quick?
So, I work with my clients a lot, and one of the top 3 things that I have experienced that women have trouble with is saying no to anything. And so one of the things I do is let's get focused. Let's just slow things down and let's get the low hanging fruit, right? So what is the thing that's in front of you right now that you're struggling with the most? And let's work through that. So then I really, really want clients, and who doesn't want to feel good about something, accomplishing something? And so I focus on getting a quick win. Let's deal with this thing. Let's work through it. I'm going to help you, give you some tools. You choose what you want to try out, how you want to say no to something, and then you're going to realize, I swear to God, you're going to realize that it's okay.
So good.
Life will go on, and they will find someone else to do whatever the hell they asked you to do.
Yeah. And this is part of the story making, right? We make up these stories that, someone's going to judge me, or things are going to fall apart, or I can't do this, or it's too big, or I'm never going to be able to finish this. One of my favorite sayings is what was once impossible is now easy. So I love that you start with these little things and are like, you thought this was impossible and now it's easy, and move on. Okay. We got to close up. I feel like we could go another hour, but we do got to close up. Tell people how they can find you. Where can they come follow you and become friends with you and learn more about you?
Well, I'm really active on Instagram. I do love Instagram. I'm on there at girlonfire.co.
Love it.
You can go to my website and grab my freebie, which is 30 ways to say no.
Love it.
And that is girlonfire.biz/say no.
Love it. Oh, so good. So good. Courtney, thank you so much. I've done about 5 or 6 of these interviews now. And at the end of all of them, I just feel this overwhelming sense. And I certainly feel this with this one as well, that there are people listening that hear themselves in you. And that is validating. It is normalizing. And it's so good for people to know that they're not alone. They're not. They may be weird. I shouldn't say they're not weird because I love weird, but they're unique and that it's perfectly okay. And in fact, I want, one of my goals right now is for us to dial it up, not dial it down, not oppress it, not suppress it, but just dial that fucker all the way up. So
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm so appreciative. Okay. Bye, listeners. From the bottom of my heart, truly, thank you so much for listening. I know that you have a ton of options, and the fact that you are taking time to listen to the Front Seat Life podcast means absolutely everything to me. If you're interested in learning more about the Front Seat Life way of life in the community, you can find out all about that at jessicabutts.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.